Good afternoon once again. It's a little bit after 4 p.m. California time on Sabbath, July 30th. And we're going to pick up on part 3 here of our new code report. We left off before we started on volume 12, number 2. And we prayed, we asked that you do the same to claim the promise of John 16:13 and be guided into all truth. So please pause the video and do that, and we shall begin. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. That is volume 12, number 2. This code has the clearest error in the new codes. On page 2 it reads, "Now we wish to ascertain what period we are living in. At the sounding of the sixth trumpet, the 4 angels are to be let loose, and they are then to kill a third part of men, and their army, moreover, is to number 200 million horsemen, and that many horses. Since no such thing has ever happened, it therefore speaks for itself that the sixth trumpet is yet in the future. It has not yet commenced to sound. In view of the fact that we are not living in the sixth trumpet, let us ascertain whether we may be in the sounding of the fifth trumpet, or whether it too is yet future. And that can be found on that code, page number 4. Keep those words in mind. We are not living in the sixth trumpet as we go forward. There is overwhelming evidence that this statement saying that the sixth trumpet is yet to sound and that we are not living in the time of the sixth trumpet is contradictory to the Brother Houteff published message. Let us look at the evidences. On the following page we will show the trumpet chart. The prophet wrote in pictorial form, something that cannot be misconstrued. Let's look at the sixth trumpet sounding and its placement. All right, so here we see the well-known 7 trumpets chart, and we will look at the clarity here, and we'll see that each of the angel that's blowing the trumpets are shown in the picture in the following destruction of those trumpets. And then we get down to the fifth trumpet here, and then notice here 6. All right, so this is the sixth trumpet, and that's blowing prior to 538 AD. So you can see this is the timeline, a path line over the course of history, and then we see clearly when the sixth trumpet began to sound. So there's no misconstruing this clear picture here. And you notice that that sounds even before the establishment of the United States. And then, of course, you have the final trumpet here, the 7th, which is heading towards the millennium. Okay, and here's more descriptions of the, the 7 trumpets right here, and it talks a little bit more about each one of them. All right, the chart is well known as the history of the trumpet soundings. You notice that the 6th trumpet is sounding prior to 538 AD. Also before the door to the most holy apartment is opened in 1844. So it's very clear that that code saying that the 6th trumpet is yet to sound and we are not living in the time of the 6th trumpet, brethren, it cannot be the prophet. He would not be so contradictory of this plain thing that he had this chart made, and also he taught otherwise, as we'll see. The rod makes clear that in this symbolic pictorial presentation, it cannot be misconstrued. While the enemy has succeeded in confusing the written word, God lightens the earth with his glory by these symbolic revelations, and by which he discloses the entire truth and uncovers the traps of the devil. So we've found a trap of the devil here, brethren. Thus, through types and symbols, he makes wise the simple and confounds the prudent by showing where there is no type, there is no truth. 2 Shepherd's Rod, page 10. Now, we'll go on to the next things that we found wrong with that particular code, but we do want to highlight, as we just saw, that of all the areas that are truly contradictory, that 6th trumpet teaching from the new code is quite amazing. It's strikingly contradictory. Next, we find additional equally undeniable statements that show that we are living in the period of the sixth trumpet. So here we see some of Brother Houghton's published work saying we are living in the sixth trumpet. The altars being in the holy apartment of the sanctuary at the sounding of the sixth trumpet proves that the trumpet sounded before the most holy apartment was open for use. For had it been in use, the voice would necessarily have come from therein where the throne is. Hence, the sounding of this trumpet had to take place before the door of the most holy was open and the throne occupied. The sounding of this trumpet proves that the trumpet sounded before the most holy apartment was open for use. All right, brethren. Too clear to go further. We should all understand the striking contradiction here. In coming from the golden altar, the command, loose the four angels, shows that the sixth trumpet sounded sometime before the veil to the most holy apartment and the heavenly sanctuary was lifted. All right, and there's another quote. Otherwise, the voice would have come from the throne, the most holy place. But as has been shown, we are still in the period of the fifth trumpet, a fact which invokes the question, how then could the sixth trumpet have sounded before the events of the fifth expired? It will be observed that though each of the trumpets began at a definite time, yet one overlaps the other, and all seven extend to the second coming of Christ. That's 5-track, page 78. The facts are that the Brother Houghton published message says the sixth trumpet sounded before the veil of the most holy opened, and Florence's published new codes say the sixth trumpet is yet to sound. The two are irreconcilably opposite statements, and that is a truism, brethren. We cannot get around that. One other note: the supposed date, volume 12, number 2 sermon, was July 20th, 1946. However, on a sermon preached and published by the prophet November 1, 1947, a little over 1 year later, which is found on 2GG number 13, the prophet wrote, "We have now seen the nature and time where the seven seals and the seven trumpets begin and end. And those who want to know the subject in all their details, we can do so by studying the tracts, the final warning, and the breaking of the seals, which will be mailed free upon request." Page 11. So let's try to understand this. So after the supposed sermon that Florence Houghton said, that Brother Houghton made, where it was saying the sixth trumpet is yet to sound, 1 year later he tells the flock to go to track 5, the final warning, where it says the sixth trumpet sounded before the veil of the holy part was opened. Confusing and contradictory. This new code error is repeated down further on page 12 as we read. The sealing of the 144,000 must take place in the period of the fifth trumpet and not in the sixth. It is then before the sixth trumpet sounds that some will have the experience of seeking death and not finding it. So we see, brethren, that unfortunately, if we're going to accept these new codes as part of the Golden Bowl, what we have to do is accept false prophetic words. And we know that the Spirit of Truth doesn't guide us into falseness like this. So this is very concerning, and I hope it helps people that are watching and reviewing this report come to the conclusion, the right conclusion about where we place these new codes. The next area of concern we found was the following statement on page 18 and 19. "For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with the flames of fire." This gives the reason the Lord will come with anger and fury. "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall many." Now here's what this new code says. The angels of Revelation 9 were to slay a third part of men. In that way, the slain of the Lord shall be many. All right, so she's saying that Isaiah 66 actually is applying to slaying a third part of the men. In that way, the slain of the Lord shall be many. The new code, if we go in and look at new code 66, 15, and 16, is applicable to the slain of those in the world. However, there are about 50 Shepherd's Rod references from the Brother Houghton published message that puts that scripture to the SDA Church. So we see that never does the Brother Houghton published writings take that and say that that's applicable to the slain, the third part of the men. It always puts it to the SDA Church, and that's 50 references. After speaking specifically on Isaiah 66, 15, and 16, it reads, "Here it is reiterated that the slaying takes place in the church among those who are well acquainted with the things of God, so much so that those who escape are sent to declare his glory and his fame among the Gentiles. Moreover, the very fact that Gentiles are not slain, but are to be taught of God after the slaying takes place, positively shows that the slaying takes place in the church only and before probation closes for the Gentiles. To repeat, those who escape the slaying are sent to preach salvation to the Gentiles." 1 TG number 52, page 23-24. Bottom line, this code is found wanting and in undeniable contradiction with the Brother Houghton published message. All right, let's go on to 12.3. Nothing of note was noted that caused concern until we came to page 18. That page says, "When does the judgment of the living commence? To those who wish to know when the living in the church will be judged in the books of heaven, we give you the benefit of Brother Houghton's clear-cut statements which he wrote in answering specific questions on the subject." All right, note, Florence says the following statements were from Brother Houghton's writings. Let's keep that statement in mind. So here she's claiming that Brother Houghton made some statements about it. On page 18 through 22, Florence gives 9 references supposedly made somewhere in Brother Houghton's writings. However, not one of those references have any supportive references of where she got them from. In other words, we are to assume them to be by Brother Houghton. You see, you'll find that throughout the new codes, brethren, that Florence Houghton often claims he said something, but she never provides any proof from anywhere that he says it. Often she does this. However, we did a word search on them and could not find them in any literature from Brother Houghton's writings. They are placed in quotations, signifying that she was quoting Brother Houghton. This is a problematic point 1. So she's using the explanation that he said it somewhere with quotations. However, we can't find them. Number 1, any of Brother Houghton's writings, and number 2, you'll see that the answers themselves are quite confusing. The second issue is that the answers themselves seem confusing, such as reference number 4. So on this code, reference number 4 says, "It is true that the Shepherd's Rod, volume 2, page 172, reveals that we are entering into the time of the judgment of the living, but it does not say that we have entered into it. Neither does it say that the judgment of the living has already begun. Not that part which we as Seventh-day Adventists call judgment, blotting out of sins and sinners from the books of records of separation. The very fact that we are still together, commingled the good with the bad, itself speaks truth. The highlighted areas are quite confusing. First, when one reads Shepherd's Rod, page 172, to Shepherd's Rod, it doesn't reveal what this reference claims. All right, so she's claiming in this Shepherd's Rod book that you can go to page 172 and find out more of what he's talking about, the judgment of the living. But when we go there, you don't find it. It doesn't reveal what the reference is claiming. We could not find anything on that page pointing to entering the judgment of the living. Second, the words themselves are a contradiction. We are entering into the time of the judgment of the living, but it does not say we have entered into it. Those who are well familiar with the Rod, published by Brother Houghton, know he did not write such careless and clear contradictory statements such as what is alleged here. So the fact that there is no supporting evidence from Florence showing where these references are in the writings of Brother Houghton, and that some are confusing, leads us to call this code problematic. right, so let's go down to volume 13, number 1 and 2. The first area of concern is found on page 9 and 10. Jeremiah 37. Alas, for that date is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Though it is designated as the time of Jacob's trouble, yet there is no trouble like it, in respect that none is so great. In this prophecy, God is revealing that before God's people return to their father's land, there shall be a time of trouble that will turn all faces pale. It will be a time of trembling, of fear, of trouble, such as never was. Trouble is coming. It is not going to be a small trouble. Why is it called Jacob's time of trouble? Jacob met his trouble while he was returning to the promised land. Now Jacob is to return again to the promised land with all his household, and again he is to meet the great trouble. That is why it's called time of Jacob's trouble. The trouble is to be exceedingly great. This new code displays contradictions, as it says the trouble comes before God's people return to their father's land. Then it says Jacob met his trouble while he was returning to the promised land. So here we say that, once again, this cannot be the prophet's writings because of the confusion. He didn't write like this. He's saying, Florence Houteff is claiming that he said these words, before God's people return to their father's land. That's not true, brethren. The type Jacob had trouble while returning. It wasn't before he returned. He was returning. So this is quite, on the surface, confusing. This new code displays contradictions, as it says trouble comes before God's people return to their fatherland. Then it says Jacob met his trouble while he was returning to the promised land. Jacob's time of trouble is before returning, but immediately after it says that it is to be while he is returning. Contradictory and confusing. We simply cannot believe that the errors and contradictions shown so far were from the inspired prophet. We'll explain more on this in our summary. Our next concern is Jeremiah 25:33. And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. This verse is describing the conditions that will prevail as a result of the coming of the brightness of the Lord when he comes in the clouds. This slaughter from the great whirlwind of Jeremiah 25:32 is from war. We highlighted that. Why should the Lord bring this on Judah and Jerusalem and then to the nations? Because they had the greatest light, and therefore they had the least reason to be wicked. Then, when this war starts in the time of deliverance of God's people, the most enlightened people will suffer first. Please turn now to Jeremiah 30, verse 23. Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continual whirlwind. It shall fall upon with pain upon the head of the wicked. This whirlwind is warfare, which does not arrive and then quickly die out. It stays long. It is the start of the latter end of the time God's people are scattered among Gentiles, just before his people are delivered. Page 19. Jeremiah 25:33 is not spoken of in Brother Houteff's published writings. It's only here in this code. However, this code says that the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. Results from what? From war. Okay, let's take a look at this. The Shepherd's Rod message by Brother Houteff continually refers to the great end-time Middle East war as being over the Middle East, not a worldwide war. Therefore, the slain will not be from one end of the earth to the other from war, but rather from Ezekiel 9, a strange fire interpretation when compared to Brother Houteff's writings. On page 28 and 29 of this code we read, all right, so we've already cleared that. There's another strange fire one. We'll go on to the next contradiction. On Isaiah 31:5 and 6, the birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem, as birds flying. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it. Turn ye unto him from whom the children of the Lord, the children of Israel have deeply revolted. All right, so this code says God is calling for a reformation in a people other than the children of Israel who have deeply revolted against God. We notice that Isaiah 31, 5 and 6 is interpreted to be called for reformation in a people other than the children of Israel. In other words, this code is saying that is for people other than SDA, DSDA. However, the Brother Houteff published message contradicts this interpretation. Though the Lord permitted his ancient kingdom to be taken by Gentiles, the scriptures show that he will soon deliver it. Not only will he deliver his people and Mount Zion, but he will defend them too. Isaiah 31, 5 and 6. As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over it he will preserve it. Turn ye unto him from whom the children of Israel have deeply revolted. Having now come to the time of their deliverance, the Lord is pleading with his people to turn to him to reform. Okay, here's another Brother Houteff reference. Isaiah 31, 6 to 68. Turn ye from him whom the children of Israel have deeply revolted. For in that day every man shall cast away his idols of silver, his idols of gold, which your own hands have made unto you for a sin. Then shall the Assyrian fall with the sword, not of a mighty man, not the sword of a mean man, not the sword, not of a mean man, shall devour him, but he shall flee from the sword, and his young men shall be discomfited. Assyrian is to fall and be destroyed, but not by the sword of a mean man, not by him who dashes in pieces. Now the fact that God's people are admonished to turn unto him to whom ancient Israel revolted shows, again, that inspiration is speaking to who? And to typical Israel, and to God's people in the Christian era. So we have the same scripture, but two contradictory statements of the interpretation. The rod gives us timely, applicable counsel for this study. The Spirit of prophecy does not and cannot give one person one interpretation of Scripture and to another interpretation of the same Scripture. So we see the counsel that the rod gives, and yet we are to believe that Sister Houteff said that he spoke two different interpretations of the same Scripture. Brethren, this is getting just too much. It's too much for truth tellers. I'm telling you, truth tellers have a real problem with these new codes. All right, volume 13, number 3 and 4. This code is well known for providing information on what many present truth believers call the Assyrian Confederacy, a term that is incorrect and a misnomer, as there was never any confederacy made by Assyria with Syria or Israel. Let's keep that in mind. You hear all these Assyrian Confederacy. Oh, I want to hear the Assyrian Confederacy doctrine. I want to hear the study on that. Brother, that's a misnomer. There was no such thing as a Syrian Confederacy. And we'll get to that later, but that's come from private Davidian teachers down through the years. The Confederacy was made by Syria and Israel, and Assyria was the enforcer from God to break up those nations, thus break up the Confederacy. So not only was there no Assyrian Confederacy, Assyria was an enforcer rather than being a part of a confederacy to break up the real confederacy, which was between Syria and Israel. The first area of concern comes from page 7 and 8 on this code. Isaiah 8, 11 and 12. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, and struck to me, that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not, a confederacy, for all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. God's people are not only commanded not to participate in the confederacy, but they are to oppose it. To all them who this people say, a confederacy. Now, this is what this code is now calling. We are to oppose it. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. It is upon the root of some fear that the confederacy is formed, but that which constitutes their fear is not to constitute the fear of God's people. Concerning this new code instruction, they are to oppose it. Let's compare Brother Houghton's published writings concerning this subject. The code leads some present truth believers, this code, the new code, some present truth believers to actively teach Davidians must take some type of action to oppose this confederacy. For example, one of the main associations proposed that an article or report be made and sent out soon to the world's government saying we oppose the confederacy. So you see that this Davidian teacher, and I'm going to name him now, his name is Don Adair, who has brought this confederacy false ideas to us as a Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. They're using that false idea to even now proclaim that we need to get ready to take some action. This is coming from one of the main organizations, brethren, that they want us to get ready, send out a booklet or send out some kind of pamphlet saying that we're not going to be involved in it when it comes, and this is all to go to government leaders, brethren. This is folly. This is what this new code has caused some of us to be, is foolish makers. Isaiah 8:11-12. Now this is the regular Brother Houghton writings. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. The fear which the people fear is not to be our fear, neither are their plans to be our plans. Our duty is what? So here's the action that Brother Houghton's inspired writings tell us. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. To sanctify the Lord is to be all for him, to have no one else in his stead, to put your entire trust in him, not making flesh your arm, for he alone is able to see you through, and through you should be the only one in all the world you should be the only one in all the world to take such a stand, he will not fail you. If such be your case, you will then become heaven's greatest hero. 1 TG number 41, page 20. We see that instead of actively opposing the confederacy, the Brother Houghton published message says that our duty is in response to this confederacy is to sanctify the Lord of hosts himself. Let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. The pages of the Bible are replete with heaven-condemned condemned perpetrations. Notable among them is the unholy alliance between the king of Israel and the king of Syria against the kingdom of Judah. Now here's the confederacy, brother, the sister kingdom of Israel. The scriptures concerning this alliance not only prohibit a church confederation with any government that would involve brother killing brother in faith, but also to ensure such a violator of a downfall from which there is no possible rising. This is quickly seen from the fact that the confederacy did not succeed in breaking Judah, but rather that God employed a predatory power, Assyria, swiftly to break the confederacy, to destroy both kings, and to scatter Israel and Syria throughout the cities of the Medes, even though Judah herself was not wholly devoted to God. That's found in Military Stand, page 5. Track 14 tells us clearly that during the Middle Ages is when the confederacy, persecution to God's church, and let us read that. All right. So we're learning more about the true nature of this Assyrian confederacy and the confederacy itself. There must be found in the Christian dispensation a backslidden Christian power, Israel, confederate with a pagan one, Syria, to the end of assimilating or annihilating Orthodox Christians, Judah. And the only such confederacy in the Christian era was the unholy union of church and state which ruled during the Dark Ages, and which sought the destruction of the born-again who refused to depart from the apostolic faith and submit to a Christian pagan Israel-Syria confederacy. The VTH published message does not show antitype Assyria coming against the church, the Seventh-day Adventists, but that the Christian dispensation application occurred already in the Middle Ages. But there is a mention of an end-time application of Syria aligning with Israel to go against Judah, Orthodox Christians, and that's in 2TG, page number 41, page 18. The type, ancient Assyria, finds its double in the power in which Middle Ages broke up. So here we see that the confederacy that the rod, not the new codes, the rod talks about is the one in the Middle Ages, and I'm talking about the Assyrian confederacy. The code further says, the confederacy we are now studying this afternoon commences. All right, we're now going to get to another area of error in this code. The confederacy that we are studying this afternoon commences before the loud cry and before the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. It is not the image of the beast, for this association precedes the image of the beast, and the confederacy is formed when the nations are girding themselves for war. Put another way, the confederacy will commence after the sealing and perhaps just before the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Moreover, it is in a time when the Christian nations are united with the woman. Babylon will sit on the 7 heads, depicting also the union of churches under Babylon. Brethren, when I see this, I am just struck with the total foolishness and backwardness and error and contradictions and just idiotic compilation of prophecy right here. We could go into this on a whole different study by ourselves, but let's look at the problems. There's a couple of them here. There's 2 problems. There's more, but there's 2 that we'll highlight in the red highlighted area. First, as the new codes have stated before, the intervening time will commence after the sealing and perhaps just before Ezekiel 9 is contradictory to the Brother Houteff published message. And we already view over that. You can review it again. That's pages 25 and 29 of our report. Okay, let me touch on that just real quick again. So not only is these new codes incorrect in many areas, but we'll see often that they will double down on a certain error. So we see that again in page 10 here, it's doubling down because after the sealing and perhaps just before Ezekiel 9, you see it's putting that separation there again. You've got a time period that some things can happen prophetically. And so when you go back and you review 25 to 29, how we take that down and show it's just terrible, you have to say to yourself, what was Brother Houteff, if he really did indeed make that, was he a confused man? I mean, was he messed up and now claims that there's going to be a period of time after the sealing 144,000 and before the slaughter of Ezekiel 9? No, we can't do that, brethren. It's Florence Houteff and her council that's confused. They're the ones that are making these things up. They're the ones that put this stuff attempted to put it in the golden bowl. Okay, and some of us, unfortunately, there's more that are starting to come align with the truth and realize just what's happened here. But unfortunately, many today, and I'm talking about many in Waco, many in Mountaindale, and perhaps even in Bashan, still fall for this stuff, still fall for the Assyrian Confederacy. The time difference after the sealing 144,000 and before Ezekiel 9, they start putting all kinds of these weird scenarios together. And this is just something that is the work of the evil one, not of God's prophets. This is for sure. All right. First, as the new codes have stated before, the intervening time will commence after the sealing and perhaps just before Ezekiel 9 is contradictory to the Brother Houteff. We went over that. You can review it. Second, the harvest period shows the timeline of the events with Ezekiel 9 happening before the woman sits upon the scarlet-colored beast. But this code is saying the confederacy in the time the woman sits upon the scarab takes place before Ezekiel 9. Oh, no, no. In the time when the Christian nations are united, that the woman, Babylon, will sit on the 7 heads, depicting also the union of churches under Babylon. So we want you just to make note of that this code is really an upside down one. Bottom line, this code is truly problematic and contradictory to the Brother Houghton message. All right, so we went over, brethren, all the different codes that have the different problems. Now we're going to start to get to the summary. All right, so let's take a look at a summary. Facts. The new codes were never authorized by the prophet nor edited for publication. This came from Florence Houghton and her council. Now remember, these are facts, and that means that they cannot be doubted. They cannot be twisted. They cannot be changed. These are real facts about these codes. Number 2, there are approximately 12 new codes that Florence and her council published that have not been disseminated out in the field down through the ages. Now, why is that, brethren? Well, we already went over that in the report. Many of them have downright errors, downright false ideas. And so there again shows that how these new codes have been compromised. We'll get into more of that as we go. Some of the current new codes disseminated today have missing pages and have been edited out by certain people over the years. This is a big problem. Who's making this decision? Who under God's authority had the right to do this, brethren? To say, well, we're not going to put that in this code. We're going to take it out. Whose decision was that? Certainly wasn't the prophets. Certainly wasn't a God, holy man that God authorized to do it. It was a private individual, private Davidian. Number 4, Florence Houghton was caught trying to insert herself as author or compiler of a TG. She showed she was willing to tamper with the message. Now, we brought that to your attention on this new code report, showing that anybody that thinks Florence Houghton was above board, oh, she was the prophet's wife, and while after he died, she was still under a good influence, and she was doing the right thing, going into the files and pulling out all these true sermons and presenting them as they were, and she's presented them word for word what he said. Brethren, look at her history. She was tried to be a thief. She tried to take one of the TGs and substitute her name for Brother Houghton as the compiler. And assumedly as the author. Why would she put her name there? Trying to take credit for it? This was terrible, brethren. So anyway, we put that down to show you who Florence Houghton was. And therefore, this is why people have to go through these codes and no longer trust as solid proof that they're Brother Houghton's sermon. You have to dissect it like the word says. Rightly divide the word of truth. And what we've done in this report is we've done that. Yes, we've called out the truth, and there were 17 new codes that seem to be in line with Brother Houghton's writings. We have no problem with that. But we've got 7 that are downright contradictory. Prophetic false error. So what do we have? We have a combination, a mixture of truth and error. When do we accept prophetic error into the golden bowl? Never, brethren. This is terrible. So we have to really make a correct decision about these new codes. All right, Florence and her council made false predictions of prophecy and published them in the new codes. That's a fact. Number 6, Donna Dare played a key role in disseminating and editing some of these new codes, leaving out information contained therein. You see, we have 2 real parties here that were involved in the shenanigans, let's call it that, of the new codes. Florence Houghton and Donna Dare. We cannot leave out Donna Dare. He was equally up to some tricks in these new codes. Number 7, the new codes contain both harmonious truth and contradictory error, a mixture of truth and error. Number 8, Davidians have allowed certain men and women, Donna Dare and Florence Houghton, to make decisions on what and what shall not be part of the golden bowl from the new codes. So this is a fact. We have allowed and given them authority to do this, brother. And where in God's Word can we claim that they had that authority? Were they prophets? Were they authorized by God to go in there and disseminate and add certain things, take out certain things, and say, okay, this is part of the Golden Bowl now? No. This is why Brother Houteff, if he ever made those things, left them unpublished. He was not led by the Spirit of God to publish them. Some other foul spirit, Florence Houteff, Donna Dare, took it upon themselves to put this into the Golden Bowl, or at least attempt to. We don't believe that these should be part of the Golden Bowl, but they're attempting to do that. And unfortunately, many brethren have bought it hook, line, and sinker. Number 9, the proclamation of these new codes have been used by an association to make an end-time chart of events, which many brethren contest. We'll show that in Exhibit 7. All right, let's get down to our closing comments. In closing, the brethren closely inspected these new codes one by one. They found, as mentioned, truth and error within them. Inspiration says, hear and count the evidence on both sides before firing for or against. And that can be found on the front cover of Track 7. What we have provided here in this report is evidence that should be helpful to each present truth believer in making their own personal decision whether to make these new codes a part of the Golden Bowl or not. It is our prayer and hope that we as Davidian Seventh-day Adventists weigh this matter very carefully, because there is a growing body of believers that want us to come in harmony on how we should view these new codes. Some Davidian brethren have decided to go to the outer edges of the road and declare those that don't believe in these new codes as heretics or apostates. We think that that position is now shown to be unfounded and uninformed position. Our inspired counsel is clear. We must base our conclusions solely on the weight of evidence, so that we may not only know the truth, but also teach nothing but the truth. So we want to bring to attention now that because this report has laid it out so clear with the facts and the truth of the history and what's in these codes, those brethren that are should now be in a position to get back in the middle of the road. Okay, no more of this outer edge stuff where, oh, you don't believe in the new codes, you must be a heretic, you're an apostate, you're working for the devil, you don't believe in new codes, you're a devil worker. Brethren, that's the devil who's saying those things. The person that's saying those things is in fact working for the devil. Okay, it's not the ones that he's claiming it's he himself. So if you meet a brother or sister in this message and they start to condemn you or anybody else that because they don't believe in the codes, they're apostates, or they're heretics, or they're not true Davidians, you rebuke them in the name of Jesus. You say, go see this report, brother, sister, and you come back to me and tell me that we don't have standing. Okay, brothers and sisters, we have standing, and that's called the truth, the rock of Jesus. That's our standing. Some have argued that, well, the scriptures contain some error, yet do we throw that out also? We've heard that argument before. The scriptures do not contain prophecy error, which is what we have shown here. You see, there's a big difference. They use this argument. Oh, okay, well, the scriptures contain this error, that error, there. But you know what? You can go back and say, brother, sister, it doesn't contain prophecy error. Yes, there's things about one report of Judah and how he died. Judas and how he died, and another, gospel writer will write a different part of the story about it looks like he died a different way, and you've got these different scenarios and circumstances where it appears that there's some kind of contradiction. All right, well, that's for the Lord to clear up in the kingdom for us. But you can go through from the beginning to the end, and you won't find any prophetic error. It doesn't lie about prophecy. It doesn't make prophecy confusing and contradict each other in prophecy. That's what we have in these new codes. So it's a big difference here. Lastly, please weigh the evidence between the evidence, brethren, and then the Lord promises to guide us in the spirit of truth. Mother needs us to teach the truth, and all error, not a mixture. This is very key. We have to be prepared to give Mother a straight message, one that's based upon thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord through his prophets, through Brother Houghton, not through Sister Houghton, not through Don Adair. These people, as we just shown clearly, had another agenda, and it's not from the Lord. When he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he shall show you things to come. So that's the one thing to remember, brethren, that the Spirit of truth is the one that guides us, and when we're connected with him, we can have discernment. All right, so we don't have time to go over all the exhibits, but down at the end of the report, you can review this at your leisure. We show Exhibit 1, and that just shows that, yes, the brothers in the early days did believe in the new codes, and they even quoted them in session. So there's no getting around that. We admit that. But we want to say that, as we went over in the beginning of our report, they really didn't have access to all the different aspects of these new codes like we do today. The advent of a computer and going online and just getting so much more information than they had during that time that we were able to compare. I guess what I want to say is we're able to rightly divide the word based on the equipment we have versus that in those days. That they really didn't have. I don't even believe they had the new code in compilation form at that time. So they were going pretty much bits and pieces. And so they really can be excused for their lack of equipment, their lack of knowledge in the truth of the matter. So this explains our history. That's Exhibit 1. Now Exhibit 2, you can go in there and review where you've heard the argument, all the old timers believed in the new codes. No, this is an exhibit showing that there was not all the believers from the Davidians in the early days that believe in these new codes. There was a good amount, but there was also some that rose up against these new codes. And this is evidence of it in Exhibit 2. You can read that at your leisure, but they do call Florence Houghton's program the New Code Program. So they knew she was up to an agenda with these new codes. It's quite lengthy, but it's well worth reading. All right, number 3. Okay, we want to give you the link. We mentioned Michael Graham and Lennox Sam original report came out in 2002 about these codes. It's very enlightening, brethren. If you get a chance, copy this link and paste it on to Google, and that report will show up. Like I said, it breaks it down. It gets very specific about the problems with these new codes. So this was the first warning sign that came out into the world field. And it's important to read that as well as this report. And then you'll have the whole reports in their form that you can make a good decision on these new codes. All right, number 4. All right, these are the transcripts that we highlighted showing that Florence Houghton indeed took it upon herself to add to the Golden Bowl. This is proof of it. We found this in one of the transcripts. Now, these are the words she added. In a people other than the children of Israel who have deeply revolted against God. So she decided to add that into this sermon. And, of course, we believe that the sermon itself has other things that she added in there. But this was one that we saw was written out in pencil form. And we thought this was very clear evidence. And, of course, we go into that in page 42 and 43 if you want to review that again. But here's documentation of that transcript. All right. This was sent from Brother Michael Graham. We appreciate what he did. Up here in the right-hand corner, SH, that's Sister Houghton, 9/25/57. So this is apparently one of her transcripts that she had. And you can see her a lot of crossing out, changing words. Now remember, Brother Houghton did not authorize this. So she's doing this all upon what she thinks is the right thing. And you cross outs and adding words and so forth. Now, here's where you find that evidence. God is calling for a reformation in a people other than the children of Israel who have deeply revolted against God. So she's using this Isaiah 31, 5 and 6 and saying that this scripture applies to a people other than the children of Israel. Well, we learned that Brother Houteff always applied this scripture to the children of Israel, to Seventh-day Adventists and Davidians in particular. All right, number 5, we showed evidence that Ellen White gave authority to have all of her writings published once she passed away. If the authorities deemed it as right, she gave the authority. We did that because that's contrary to Brother Houteff, who never had anything published in writing, nor verbally, that said, when I die, you can go ahead and post all my writings and literature that I have in my file or wherever. He never had anything like that, as opposed to Ellen White. All right, number 6. All right, you can find the link there, and you can go on to Baylor University. Now, I used to be able to pull up some of the literature and that, but I don't believe you can use that, brethren, today to go up and go online and find the new codes and all of them at the Baylor University. You most likely got to go to Baylor University itself and view them. All right, now here's the last thing. This is the chart events, and this is something that's put out by Mountaindale. I don't believe it's active today, but it was put out for many years. It has not been denied or changed. If older brethren still have them in their study material, Mountaindale did not make a correction, did not point out that they are error. Mountaindale, as far as we know, hasn't made any confession of them being error, and so this is very concerning. This chart of events. All right, we'll get to the last chart in a minute here. Acknowledgments. We'd like to make some acknowledgments on these reports, on this report. First, to our King and our great leader, and that is that he sent us the Spirit of truth to guide us into all truth. So we acknowledge that he's the truth giver, the guider, and we appreciate what he's led us to know about this new code report. Brother Carlisle Greer, also he shared us his Zoom site, and it was able to enable us to have 19 meetings without much of a hitch. It was beautiful. We all had a very interactive studies, and these were 19 of them. So we did a period of that for 10 months, brethren. So it was quite in depth. So don't let anybody say, well, you studied them halfway or something. We went over them word for word. And so we wanted to give the brethren a really good comprehensive report. Brother Terry Harrison, a beloved brother of ours, he was reading most all of the codes. We appreciate the gift that the Lord has given this brother to read with clarity. Sometimes people read things and they're either too fast or they miss words, like yours truly. I don't have the gift to read like our brother here, but some brethren have really, and he's got it, and we really appreciate what he did. Also, we appreciate Brother Michael Graham for forwarding us the transcripts. They were very helpful. And to all the brethren that joined us over the 10 months. I mean, we had dozens and dozens, and they were from different organizations and not affiliated brethren that aren't particularly with any organization, but still claim to be Davidians. They joined us, and so a lot of this was their compilation. They pointed things out, and we put it together in this form. So we hope you appreciated it. And so those are our acknowledgments. So we'll go down to the last one showing the chart of events, and this is that chart here. Now, if possible, brethren, you can enlarge this. It'll be nice. But we just want to point out that, for example, in the yellow highlighted areas, I believe there's some more, I believe, on this side as well. But you'll find that I don't know, 40 or 50% of all these references are new codes. Okay, so this chart of events is based solidly upon new code references. That's trouble, okay, because the codes there lend to this. This is a terrible final charts of event. Now, how do we know that? Well, you see the intervening time. You've got the close of the ceiling, 144,000, and look at all this time before the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Okay, brethren? So what we learned in this report is that they want us to take and throw away at least 34 references from the rod. That's the weight of evidence, saying that Ezekiel 9 and the ceiling are one and the same. You see all those references, 34? Throw them out. Let's go with this new symbolic code, 1 or 2 references here. Let's throw out the weight. Okay? This is ridiculous, brethren. And this is what they want us to believe. Now, we're coming up on session tomorrow, which is Sunday, the 31st. Brother Rene is going to be presenting the new code report. And I mean, he's going to go into the problems with the new codes. And he's going to make highlight of this. So we're prepared, and we pray that the Lord wakes up some of our hardline leaders with Mountaindale, that they come in line here and they admit that there's things that we have to relearn, unlearn, as the council tells us. We have many lessons to learn and many to unlearn. This is a perfect example of what we've got to unlearn. So in this chart, you see what happens during this intervening time. Well, one of them is 42 months. So they're placing the 42-month period, the 1,260 days, right in here. Brother Hadif never interpreted the 1,260 days, let alone put it in a time period. This is all private man's doing right here, based on private man new code stuff. Okay, so we want to bring that to your attention. You can read that at your leisure, but you can see the folly of what these new codes have led many of the leaders down through the years to produce, to show the brethren. And if we're going to go to mother, brethren, we have to be on the same page. And we can't be teaching, one timeline of events and then somebody else comes and follows from the same organization and teaches another timeline of events. What do you think mother's going to think about us? Wow, those are some confusing people. Okay? So we have to get in line. This has to be an issue that's cleared up. I hear brethren say, oh, why do we have to argue so much? And why don't we just get along? And, we can go forward and let's just do the best we can. No. We have to clear this matter because we have to be on the same page. We have to teach mother the same things so that she can be enlightened and blessed and understand these things. So, all right, well, that concludes our 3-part report of the new code report. We hope you've been enlightened and blessed through this comprehensive study. And again, if you get a chance, tomorrow, the 31st of July, we'll be entering these doctrinal studies with Mountaindale in their session. And so until then, we continue to pray for the Lord to lead us and have us all on the same page. Until then, brethren, may God continue to guide you into all truth. Amen.